Hi, you entrepreneurs. Today we have a very informative one about the chiropractic industry. We're with Kinetic Impact, Dr. Benjamin Deluca and Dr. Mull. If you're looking to get into the field, maybe you have some lower back pain or just kind of curious about this industry right here, you're going to want to take a listen. You're going to want to tell your friends and you're going to want to subscribe. Have a great one, guys.
Welcome to the road to growth, success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with real estate agent Vinny SD.
All right, we are here with Kinetic Impact, Dr. Benjamin Deluca. I think I was really ethnic when I said that. That was good.
Did, yeah. It was
and then
way more ethnic than I deserve.
And then Dr. Mull.
Yep, that's great.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's.
Yep.
I'm usually really bad at the name, so that's good.
Yeah.
Not
Right.
too bad. It's 4 letters, but it can be tricky.
Yeah. So tell us a little about how you guys got to where you are now.
Ben, take that over. You say it so well.
So I'll tell you a little bit about my backstory, what actually led me into the direction that I'm in. So when I was really young, I had no direction, and fitness was the thing that originally put me into the path that I'm on. I remember when I was like 19 years old, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and at that time I wasn't very good at, I didn't really care about school, so I wasn't very good at it. I kind of lost my way a little bit, and I got a job basically at a gym working with people, and I started to train. So I started personally training people when I was 19 years old, so I looked like a little kid in there, and I dealt with a lot of challenges. Some of the first challenges I remember when I was going to leave that business, I had this moment where, again, I was 20 at that point, and I really wanted to help people. Like, I was super excited about working with people. I was very passionate about it, but I had no clients, and I looked like a 5-year-old out there. And I went and I told myself, I was walking down the stairs about ready to resign, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to walk upstairs and I'm going to go talk to every person on this gym floor. And if nobody will let me work with them for free, maybe I should go sell cars, right? Like something else. Actually, if no one's working with me for free, I should probably not sell anything. Yeah. But it actually worked out really well. The first person I worked with her for like an hour and a half, and she became my first client. And after that, that was how I built my business. So I built my business completely by word of mouth because I was very low on the totem pole. They weren't giving me any leads. They weren't doing anything like that. So that was the initial skill set I had, was learning how to talk with people, communicate with them, and that's what led my fitness career.
How long did it take you to say, I need to get off my butt and start talking to people? Was it
6 months?
6 months in, okay.
Yeah, so I was 6 months in when I decided, like, I need to make this happen for myself. Like, if I want to do this, and I really wanted to, then I need to start putting the effort in that's some of anything that you want to accomplish.
Was there any indicator or something like that actually hit you at that point where you're just like, the light bulb went on?
I had like, I was sitting there like at a proverbial fork in the road, and I was actually on the staircase about ready to walk out and again resign. And I had this moment of, if you give up on this, and this is something you want to do, like what's next? Yeah. Like, and also if you just give up, what does that say about anything you want to accomplish? Yeah. So I was sitting there and I had that moment of, you need to really, really try. You need to dig down. You don't have to even be good. You don't have to have all these skills. You don't have to know anything, but you need to have a passion for what you're doing. And that's what I had. And I walked up on the floor and I'm like, I'm just going to share this passion. And from there, we'll kind of move forward. So that led me down like a really long fitness career. I was doing that up until I went back to school when I was 36 years old. At that point, I was a regional manager. I was running clubs. I still worked with people on the side. And what happened was I was getting a lot of people referred to me from like orthopedic surgeons and other professionals that they wanted me to essentially fix. And I started to get into things that were way above my pay grade. Like a doc's like, hey, I'm sending this person to you, and he would list a whole bunch of anatomical terms, and I'm like, all right, I'll be looking at this stuff up for the next 45 minutes. And I realized like I was working in a gray area. And I also didn't want to work for anybody anymore. Like I was really tired of people, what I thought were poor decisions and having to follow through 100% on a poor decision. So when I left, it was a couple reasons. For one, I wanted to call my own shots. I wanted to work for myself. I also wanted to fail on my own. Like I have no problems doing something wrong and dealing with the repercussions, if it's my choice of doing that. And that's what led me to become a chiropractor. I needed more education. I wanted to learn more. And then my approach to chiropractic is so different from how the common chiropractor approaches. My average visit is anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on what's going on. And that's what led me to meet Dr. Donald. Was in school, that wasn't the norm. That wasn't the way that we were taught. And the way that I was thinking of approaching the business and how I wanted to work with people wasn't out there. Except there's a small group of kind of like-minded people. I met him. We started to work. While we were in college, we started to create material. We started to create content. We started to look at ways of doing stuff better than what we were being taught. And that's what brought us together.
So you're 36, you're in college, and then you
Yes.
meet Donald.
Yep, enter me. Yeah, so I'm going to rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
And what got me interested in healthcare in general is probably the relationship with my father. He had a stroke when I was at the age of around 11. He was in an intensive care unit for probably 6 months. Lived in the Ronald McDonald House for quite some time as he was going through that process. And honestly, I didn't want people to go through that, right? So that's what led me into wanting to be into healthcare. And then I got really consumed with sports too along that process. I ended up getting an academic scholarship as a result of playing football at University of Laverne, and that's where I ended up playing football, doing college there. So in that time of my life, I was consumed by sports, and that's where I got to meet important people in my life, like my strength and conditioning coach, to get me thinking about the body in certain ways, and the importance of recovery when you're putting your body through the ringer every week. And then right after I was done with college, I immediately missed the camaraderie, right? So my immediate thought process is fireman. I want to be a fireman, right? I get to hang out.
I didn't know how you were going to sing it. You're like a fireman poster or fireman?
No, yes. So that was my immediate thought process. And what do you have to do to go through that process? You typically go through the EMT process.
Yeah. When was this? How long ago was this?
This was 2011. Okay. So I was 19. Oh, no, not 19. I was 22, right? Because you graduated at 21, 22. So I did that. Quickly noticed it wasn't for me. Not to say I don't have respect for the profession. I greatly respect that profession. It was just honestly kind of sad.
Well, it's probably good too, because I think 2013 or 14 they put a hold on like hiring for the fire department.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was just hard to be at the scene, and you're essentially like a gurney. You see all the family's reaction. Essentially, the reason why I got interested in healthcare is to prevent all that, right? Yeah. That's when I realized that preventative care was the route for me. Right? I want to stop people from being on the gurney and not holding the gurney and transporting them from hospital to hospital, right? Yeah. That's what led me into kind of picking around. I had a buddy of mine that was going to school. I told him I was interested in PT, physical therapy, and he told me to take a look at chiropractic. Right? And so I did, and I just noticed the biggest difference. The scope was relatively the same. Like, granted, a lot of chiros don't use the whole scope, kind of like how Dr. Ben was mentioning. But the scope was relatively the same, but you could see people without referral from an orthopedic surgeon, right, or an MD. Like, you are a primary care physician, right? So I was kind of all in at that point, and then that is when I ended up meeting Dr. Ben and started working together in all facets, both inside of school and outside of school, creating content that wasn't inside of our curriculum, but we were just interested in it, right? Yeah. We just knew that was the route that we wanted to go to help treat our patients, to keep them from having all these cardiovascular incidences, having chronic pain, all the stuff that plague and cost this nation billions and trillions of dollars.
So you were in school, got a degree, right?
Yeah,
in college,
yeah.
And then you were looking into the fire aspect of it.
Totally.
Then you went back to school.
I
correct?
did.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was an EMT for a short stint, I believe 2 months, and I got accepted into the doctorate program, and I put in my 2 weeks and just went right after it.
And so, Dr. Ben, you were 36, you said, right? When you went back.
Yeah, I was 36. So I had basically like a full career, and at that point I was like a regional manager. So I was used to training, hiring managers, putting systems in place. You know, I was like used to walking into a building and like people would look like they were doing stuff because I walked in, which was the exact opposite of what happened to me when I went back to school. You know, I was like, no one cares that I just walked in here. And then also, like I mentioned, I got my bachelor's degree pretty much all online because I was working full time. I'd always been career oriented. And it was like the first time since I was in high school that I'd been in a classroom.
Yeah.
That was another reason we were good friends, is I was like, man, I don't even know how to learn. And this guy's like, check this out. He's creating ways of studying and picking up information that was boggling my mind. You know, he had a lot of really, really good qualities and habits that I didn't even know existed.
So how old are you, Donald, when you met him?
How am I currently?
No, when you met Dr. Ben.
That was January of 2000. So I was 22, just turned 22.
Okay.
So he was one of the youngest. He was one of the youngest guys in the program.
Yeah.
And I was one of the older guys in the program.
Yeah. But you had the management skills. You've done the training for a while he might have had the sports background. And so it kind of like helped you vibe together a little bit.
Yeah. So there was a lot. So that's the other thing that's a big challenge, right? Is being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, or doing anything, is if you want to bring another person into the fold.
Yeah.
I would say like those are some of the challenges that we had to figure out, is how do you work with somebody? Are you sure you have the same vision? Yeah. How are you going to make the economics work? How are you going to understand workload? How are you going to look at like who's good at what and what is their time, you know, putting value on time. Yeah. Like having me do certain admin things or like social media campaigns, it's real slow and not very effective, where we put this guy on top of it and he's going to blow it up, where there's other things that I might be better at putting skill acquisition. And I also had like deep roots. I had made a lot of contacts and connections, you know, over close to like the past 20 years just being in the area. So being able to use those and being able to take that and parlay it to what we currently do, combined with what he brings to the table, is really what helps push this thing along the right way.
So how did you guys find the roles that each of you are placed in now? How did you find, was that just over time, or was that? Yeah.
I would say a lot of trial and error. And it becomes quite apparent when you're with somebody a lot, what they are good at and what they're not good at, right? In our case, it's what you're good at and what they're not so good at. No one's not good at anything, right? But
I'm not good at a lot of things.
But I think it goes like when you have a partnership, it goes beyond like the vision, like the why. Like, yeah, you gotta have the same why and the same drive, but you also have to be able to work together. You have to be able to put your nose to the grindstone and be able to put a crap ton of work together, not get so egotistical, know it's okay to suck at something or not be right, because the solution is the solution. It doesn't have to be your solution. Right.
Was there a moment that you, for each of you, that you knew you could trust the other person and say, okay, I can build a business with this individual?
Yeah. So I saw early on. So for me, in the later part of my previous career, like I spent a lot of time hiring talent. Yeah. Like I'm looking for managers, I'm looking for trainers, and anything that a person didn't have like on paper, like let's say they didn't know how to do something, or their skill set wasn't good with training, or they didn't know this, or they weren't knowledgeable in an area, I can train that into you. Like I can put you and I can educate you and I can get that. But what I learned was, having hired so many people, I'm looking for intangible qualities. And really early on, I saw a lot of intangible qualities in this guy. And especially being so young, he had never been forced down any direction. He was just figuring stuff out. And
what were the tangible qualities?
He had an insane work ethic and his ability to challenge and think outside of the box, right? So you're getting told lots of different kinds of information from lots of different areas, and being able to look at the research or the information and be able to create your own conclusions, or being able to take that information and build upon it that was something that I thought he did really, really well. And there was a lot of things that I'd been exposed to over years of time, and this guy hadn't figured them out or went and found the information on his own. That took me 4 or 5 years to stumble on. I'm like, this guy stumbled on it in the last 3 months, and he's been able to put all that together. He was really well respected. I remember going to listen to other presenters speak, guys that are teaching us information, and they all would come afterwards and talk to him. And he'd sit down at a table with these guys, and he's still in school, and they're asking him questions. What do you think about this? I was like, wow, that's an impressive quality. That's a great thought process. I want to work more with this guy. So that was kind of how I saw it and approached it. We did have a moment, though, where we both, right after school, we're both graduated. He was up in, where were you at? Up in L.A. still?
Yeah, Orange County.
Orange County. I was down here. I was still trying to, we had talked about doing stuff. We hadn't fully had it come together yet. We were in the process of looking at different models. I was working at where I did my internship at, because you have to do an internship at the end. And he actually was the one that convinced me, like, drop that and come here. And he basically, well, what did you basically say to me? This was a huge moment for me when I knew I could work with him.
What I think had happened was I was in the car. You were in the car. You were coming home from Solana Beach, so you were in the back routes. And I forget where I was driving, but you asked me a clinical question, and I said, where you're at right now, you're being held back clinically. I'm going to be completely honest with you. You need to open up shop and do your own thing at where you're at right now, just within optimal performance. And then I think what you mentioned to me was like, well, honestly, dude, if you were with me, I would probably do it. And I didn't even think twice. I was just like, fuck it, I'm moving. I'll be there. And I moved officially within the month, but I was traveling from Orange County for the first 3-4 weeks. Yeah. 2-hour drive there back.
Was there a moment now you know all that positive that he threw on you? You have to have more than a 1 week, one sentence response of what was the driving factor for him?
For me, it was an accumulation of trust. I'm an incredibly cynical person. Yeah. Helped me in my educational time, right? Because to question is to learn, right? Yeah. But I find that to be the same when I'm meeting somebody or when I'm getting to know somebody. I'm very like keep an arm's distance. Like I'll wear a smile and I'm always respectful, but trust is something that takes time for me. And throughout the process of schooling, literally Ben was always there for me. If I needed help moving, if I needed anything, like, cause I did do a move throughout that process, Ben was the person that I would go to. That intangible to me, like trust, you can't put that quality trumps all qualities in my book. So I knew that whatever it was, whatever an endeavor would be, whether it be a project or whether it be a lifelong business together, I had trust that I would never be taken advantage of. That was by far the biggest driving factor where I don't have to think about it. Fuck it, I'm moving. Yeah. Right. I just had insurmountable trust.
Once you guys partnered up, it probably wasn't all roses, a lot of business, everything like that. So what were some of the struggles? What were some of the hiccups, either in the relationship or in the business or whatever it might be?
So to give people an idea of like where we're at and where we were able to attain success, we literally had started off with one portable chiropractic table, sharing every single patient that came through the door. So imagine if you came in and you had shoulder, back, hip, neck, whatever, discomfort or pain, we're both working with you. So that's a challenge, right? Like, how do you not overstep when a guy's going down one way? How do you not like want to jump in on it? So that was how we initially started. And then we built that out to where, we have two really nice, like high-end tables or whatever. And but we still work directly on a performance enhancement studio that doesn't get any walk-in traffic. So the entire thing was built word of mouth. So a lot of the initial struggles were, how are we going to get anybody to come see us? And then another struggle was the management side, like the business management side. How are we going to do paperwork? What kind of management system are we going to put in place? How are we going to follow up? who's going to follow up? Though all those things took time. I mean, we probably went through 3 different management systems, and every time you deal through a management system, you're moving a database over, and that's time consuming, right? So there's a ton of different things like that probably slowed our growth down, because it's like, all right, well, we're spending 5 hours today figuring out how to do this. And then another thing too is, like, we're medical practitioners, right? And you get very little business school of, like, what does that mean? Like, what can you do? What can't you do? Your emails have to be HIPAA compliant, like all these different kinds of avenues. So finding that and researching it and looking at where to go with that took time. Knowing, like, social media, initially we weren't consistent enough with it. So figuring out how to, like, develop time, and then also not book him or I during times where the other guy will take patients so that he can build the other side of the business. So all those were struggles, you know. And then big struggles too is when you first open a business like we had, it's not like, all right, there's 12 people here to work for you today. We show up, there's nobody there. What are we going to do to be productive to get people in? So learning how to figure out to maximize time when you're not with somebody was a challenge. Like, how do we spend that? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? And then also the ego thing. It's like, I think we should do this. Well, I think we should do that. And I'm like, well, which one of these has a better idea and is going to get a faster result right now? We'll go with whatever guy's idea that was, and moving down that way.
So it wasn't a game of who picked the higher card wins?
Sometimes, you know, he's real good at freaking rock, paper, scissors, man. I'm telling you. Like, he's real good.
Yeah, my girlfriend's been trying to play me for like 10 years, and like, she's beat me one time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was because I
should go to that Vegas thing.
I sat with her and was, like, encouraging her. It was like 400 hands in. It was like a whole night of drinking, and I'm like, "You can do it, Carly." And I think he just laid one down. I'm like, "Donald, rock. Carly, paper it out 3 times."
So you guys didn't have any sort of mentor? It was all kind of learning, like falling and picking yourself up. And
so we had lots of different mentors, actually. So there's people that we admired throughout. There was a lot of different. So we are like continuing education junkies, right?
Yeah.
So we basically we'll go and listen to, like, almost anybody speak if they have something interesting. So we were listening to strength coaches. We were listening to physical therapists. We were listening to orthopedic surgeons. We were listening to different kinds of presenters speak. Each one of those we would learn information from, ask them how they ran their practice. And again, seeing what fit and didn't fit. Like, where we both of us interned at very well-respected places, and places that wanted us to come, you know, work with them and be part of their team. And there's just something about the way they were doing stuff that we thought, we could do this differently. We can make this unique. We can make this how we want to practice. Because when people come to us, they're usually in pain.
yeah.
And that sucks. Like, I've never, like, woken up in pain and been like, today's fucking awesome. I'm like, there's automatically something that's coming in that doesn't feel good. So one thing I think that we try to do is, when people come in, we try to get them to crack a smile sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, we try to take and get that down, get them to be very comfortable, you know, get them to tell us what's going on, let them understand what's that. And we build everything based off trust.
Yeah.
So
looking back at your full journey, is there something that you would tell your younger self, I guess, you know, for both of you guys? Is there kind of advice, or maybe someone else looking to get into this kind of field? What kind of advice would you give?
So I would definitely say, if you're looking to get into this field and you're going to do an internship, I would do multiple internships with different docs, because you're going to learn something from each of them. I'd go to places that you might completely philosophically disagree with, but may be extremely successful on the business side, because you want to see why are they successful as a business. I mean, I might not respect their clinical skills, but they are doing something right to have this much volume or whatever. Is that for me or not for me? Because you can learn just as much about what you don't want to do by trying to find something that you do want to do. So I would say, make sure you know how to run your business, not just be a great clinician.
So that's interesting. So you would look for a place that you don't agree with their practice, yet that they're successful?
I wouldn't actively seek a place I didn't agree with, but if you ended up in one and they were really successful, I would stick it out rather than go in there with the mindset like, I can't believe what they're doing every single day. This sucks.
Yeah.
go like, okay, well, there's things I disagree with, but I'm going to just focus on trying to learn this. Like, if this isn't the place where I'm going to learn my clinical skills, there's about 8 million places you can find continuing education and get better at. What are they doing in their business? Ask them if you can work in the back office.
Yeah.
You don't have to be with the patients. And those skills and those things are really what's going to take your business to the next level.
Yeah.
Had I done that, I would have probably had a better understanding of a software system that I wanted to use and wouldn't have screwed around for, 6 to 8 months doing database changes, which is super, super time consuming and soul sucking.
So you're taking the blame for that?
Yeah, I'll take the blame.
It wasn't Donald?
I'll take the blame. I'll take the blame for the first one. He can take the blame for the second way we wanted to do it. And I think we both mutually agree that this was the way to go with where we're at.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I agree.
So what about you, Dr. Donald? If you had to look to your younger self or someone else looking to get into the field, what kind of advice would you give?
Yeah, I think to piggyback off of what he was saying, I think if your goal is to make a lot of money,
Yeah.
then
Is that your guys' goal?
sure, yeah,
Okay.
definitely, yeah. Like if you want to be comfortable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's for us, it's by means of helping more people. If we could help more people,
Yeah.
that revenue will probably go up.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
But if your goal is to make a lot of money, make that your goal to seek those who make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, your clinical views may not be the same, but
Yeah.
if your goal and you know your goal is to make a lot of money and your eyesight's on that and you ask them how they did that, it's easier to justify, I guess you could say. Does that make sense?
Is there? Well, sorry. What do you say?
So I would say this, like, so this comes to like how we were looking forward and when it comes down to money, right? So like for us, it's all about what a lot of money is to you.
Yeah.
For one, like we're not with our goal. Yeah. We're trying to be at a very comfortable level for us, but not jeopardize integrity of what we're doing. So when you look at a traditional chiropractic model, the way they make a ton of money is they'll see 90 people in the day and they spend 5 to 10 minutes maybe with that patient and they're just racking and cracking all day long. We're never going to make our money that way. We just can't do it because we don't feel like that's going to be the solution for every person that walks through the door. They're not cookie cuttered. So for us, it comes down to creating educational products, courses and workshops. So we want to take a lot of the information that we've had, put it in a very user-friendly way, and sell that for an inexpensive price that more people could take advantage of. So when it comes down to making a lot of money, you want to make sure that you keep your soul intact while you're doing it.
So I know you guys said find people that are making a good amount of money. I know at least in my profession, there's a lot of people that you might have the perception they make a lot of money, yet you actually look at their books and that's not the case. So is there a way in your guys' profession to find out who's doing that, or is just more taking a guess, I guess?
Yeah, so get them to show their books. So
Okay.
guys, so like if you're interning with them, you got to remember like when a chiropractor takes an intern on, this intern is free labor.
Yeah.
And the interns, so like we've taken interns on, and for us, we want to make sure that our interns are going to really benefit. We want our interns to know, like, do you want to practice this way? It's okay if you don't, but if you do, like, you're going to get something out of this. But also, we want to get something out of the interns. So if you're an intern and you're inquisitive and you're helpful and you can fill a need within a place that you're interning, they will start giving you more things. So if you show that you're good at like books or you're good at this stuff or you have an interest in it or you want to help, a lot of times they'll eventually like sit down with you and go, this is how it works.
I think that's a powerful thing right there. Just the idea that you do have some value if you're an intern, and look at the books. Like I think that's powerful just alone, not take everything at face value.
Yeah. Look at the books, see what they're doing. And does it jive with what you're trying to do? Or is there an aspect of it that you can take with you? And then also too, for guys that are just getting started, there's nothing wrong with having 5 and 10 year plans. Like you may need to brush your skills up. You may need to build your skills up. You might need to learn more. So go find a place that you like, that makes sense economically with what you're trying to do. Go in there and get really good, but also realize you need an exit strategy. You need to be able to, once you've grown as far as you can there, leave and start your own legacy. And I would say like that's a really important thing, because I think a lot of guys in our profession will fail because they come out with these dreams of grandeurs, and they might see some of these guys that are doing really, really good and are making a lot of money. And they just think they're going to throw a shingle up on the door and that's what's going to happen for them. And it's not. I don't care what kind of chiropractic business you're running, whether it's a high volume model or a lower volume model like we do that's more physical and training oriented and movement oriented. It's not just going to happen.
Yeah.
So you need to realize, like, what is your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and how will you make that happen?
And on like the grand scheme of things, like realizing that if you want a 6-figure income, you're going to have to put in a 6-figure amount of work. Like, it doesn't just happen, right? Yeah. You can't just put up a welcome sign and everyone's going to flood to the door. No, that shit's hard work, right?
It's hard work.
What do you see the future of your business, and even in the chiropractic, I guess, field? Mm-hmm. What do you see? Yeah.
So for us, we would love to be a leader in the community, online community, helping people deal with their pain and symptoms, empowering them through education and through our products to help them get out of pain on their own, because that's something that we do when we're in our office, right? We try to get people out of pain as fast as possible, teach them how their body works, show them how to move well without pain, and use that to treat their own symptoms, right? So that would be huge. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I think another space that we want to get into is the corporate wellness space. I think there's a huge opportunity, and our scope is so big that we can cover like lots of different topics. I mean, everything from like nutrition to movement and low back pain. The low back pain situation in America is just out of control. It's like the second reason people come to the doctor. Yeah. And if you go to a doctor for low back pain and the doctor's not a musculoskeletal doctor, a physical therapist, or orthopedist, or chiropractor, then what you're going to end up with is a prescription that just is like a shotgun effect. Like, here, take this. It's going to shut everything down. That won't make it hurt. So I think the future.
I think to give you an idea, the money we spend on low back pain in healthcare outdoes cancer and heart disease.
Wow,
that's crazy.
It's insane.
So for us, we would love to be able to come into like a company, host workshops. Hey, here's some really easy things, and then here's a very comprehensive product that you can take with all your employees and utilize to help with this. So it's going to lower health care costs. And for us, it comes out to exposure. Like, when you work with people and you're in a service-based business, you have to be passionate, you have to love what you're doing, and you have to truly care about that person in front of you. And if you don't, it's going to go sideways for you. So for us, like how we talked a little bit about, you want to make money, but at the same time, you got to stay true with why you're doing it, and look for ways that maximize your time when you're not there.
This might be more for you, Ben. What misconceptions or stuff that we thought were fact when you first started in the personal training industry compared to now have kind of changed? Because I know we're learning more about the body as we go.
So I started in the year 2000. So back then in the year 2000, there weren't boutique studios, right? Like where I'm at right now really didn't exist. Everything was a box gym. What I mean by a box gym is like a 24-hour fitness or an LA Fitness. So all trainers pretty much work there. Yeah. So whether you were a good or a bad trainer, you were in one of those facilities. And one of the things so when I first got into it, it was all about machines. If you even go into the gyms now, you'll see platforms, you'll see kettlebells, you'll see things like that. When I first got over there, they were still really hard selling like the Nautilus line or whatever hoist was out there, so you're going to see big circuits. So that moved away. The next thing that started to get crazy was stability training. So then there was this huge phase where everybody was like on a stability ball. And then they started to get like what I think is overly functional training, where you're doing like a single leg deadlift into a squat, into an overhead press, into a river dance. It's like maybe we're throwing too much stuff out there with the body. So I saw it go from stable machines to super unstable to now where if we were to look at it and you look at stuff that's going on, it's all trending back down to basic strength training components and principles. And that's where the foundation seems to have sticked, and that's where a lot of the results are showing. And even the research shows that just general fitness with like squats, lunge, deadlift, a push and a pull pattern have huge results for relieving all different kinds of pain and stuff like that. So those are some of the main trends I've seen kind of go. And then the biggest trend that's going on in the training world today, there's obviously a technological train, right? A lot of stuff that you can do online. That's huge. Heart rate monitors are a big training, like training heart rate zones. You got to be careful with that because, again, people will think they need to work out at this red-lined all the time. And it's like anything else. If you're red-lined all the time, you break. So I think the future is you're going to see more and more things that are mellowing out, you know, that will have variations of high intensity and low intensity stuff. But those are the trends and things that I've seen. The other thing that's really popular is like small group training, which is turning into large group training, which is now like group exercise with somebody that's not exercising in front of you, right? So you see that. So those are where the future is going to lie in that field. And I think in our field, it's just going to be a dichotomy because I think you're going to see a bunch of the guys still trying to just rack and crack all day. And then I think you're going to see a huge split where you see guys that are more like us that are trying to use a bigger scope of their profession. And the real beauty, like I'm very optimistic, he's a little bit more pessimistic than I am, which is why we balance out, is the perfect world where the future for a chiropractor would be is if you went to a medical doctor and you came in with a cold or flu-like symptoms, you would see him. If you came with musculoskeletal pain, you would go see the chiro, and then he would decide whether you're going to orthopedic or whatever from there. And that would be like...
So general practitioner kind of thing?
Yeah, but a general practitioner specifically for musculoskeletal issues, right? Like, can we quickly figure out, is this, and if not? And then for us, like my biggest fear is someone comes in with something that presents like low back pain, and it's a kidney infection, you know? So I always got my head on a swivel for organic stuff. And if you can get the two sides of the house quickly realizing, is this or is this that, put the person in the right care, I think the healthcare system would just clean up really fast. That's not easy to do.
Yeah. Fair. Well, so let's say if there's someone looking to get in the profession or there's someone that's looking for chiropractic work, how would they get in contact with Kinetic Impact?
Dr. Donald.
So they could go to our website at www.kirehab.com. Give us a call at 619-695-0688. And if you do go to the website, if you just book an appointment, you'll see our availability. And you can also, if you're not there yet, that's cool. We have some forums on there that where we could reach out and we can give you a free phone consultation, kind of hear you out, see if it's a spot for you. We're definitely not like, come here or else, if you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, we send people away. So there's times where someone will come in and this is not a fit for them, and we quickly get them to where they need to go. You know, so we're holistic practitioners, but we're not crazy on that end. You know, it's like we'll see something and like, oh, you need to see an orthopedist. This may need surgery. So we definitely make sure if we can work with you, we will, and if not, we'll get you to where you need to go.
Perfect. Well.
And then if you want to follow social media, our Instagram is Kinetic Impact RP, as well as our Facebook. So Kinetic Impact RP.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully all you guys out there listening got some good information. I think just like that one that really got me, well, of course your story, but the idea that as your intern right there to look at someone's books and actually see that value right there and put a game plan for your actual future growth. I think that's something very powerful for anyone listening right now.
And then for those of you that are trying to do it, that's not what happens on the first day of your internship. It starts off with, hey, can I take you to lunch?
Thank you.
I've got some questions for you. Man, you're really successful. Yeah. It's not like, hey, I want to come here. What do your books look like? Oh, you have 2 sets of them? That's interesting.
All right. So for all you guys, again, Kinetic Impact, we're here with Dr. Benjamin Deluca and Dr. Donald Mull.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Please share, please subscribe, and tell your friends.
Thank you for listening to The Road to Growth, Success of an Entrepreneur. Please like, subscribe, and stay connected. Visit www.vinnySD.com.
Yeah, I created a website.
Hope to see you again next week. Team Vinny SD, signing off.